Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to touch on the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are a very important doctrine, and it doesn't matter what religious belief you have or what views on religion in general you may have. The 10 Commandments are a list of commandments that God had given to Moses on the Mount Sinai. Now, with these commandments, they're just basically general rules that all human beings should follow. Once we go through them, if this is your first time actually hearing them, you'll quickly begin to understand that most of us live by these doctrines, even if we don't necessarily read them out of a holy Bible. So let's go ahead and get into the 10 Commandments. Number 1, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not have any gods before me. All that's really saying is that there's one God, and that there shouldn't be any gods placed above him. At one point in time, there were many people that believed in many gods, and I think that particular commandment really spoke more to that. Number 2, thou shalt not use the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And that's pretty self-explanatory. That's basically just saying that you shouldn't use God's name in vain. Number 3, remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. Now this one is an interesting one, and for a lot of reasons, especially when you look at people in westernized society. You find that capitalistic societies tend to work, and work some more. A lot of people don't necessarily take the time to reflect on the things that are needed outside of building a business or building capital. There's times when ultimately you need to be able to take a day and reflect on self-growth and building thyself. Number 4, honor thy father and mother. Well, this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically just saying to have respect for your mother and your father. I believe that ultimately that's something that inherently most people do and respect anyway. Number 5, thou shalt not kill. Again, something that's pretty self-explanatory, and I believe that the vast majority of people walking planet Earth actually follow, regardless, again, if they read it out of a Bible or they read it off the internet, or if they have a preacher or a pastor telling them this. I believe that most people generally will follow this commandment without thinking much about it. Number 6, thou shalt not commit adultery. So, with this particular commandment, what this is really saying is that when you're an adult and you are in a relationship, specifically one that is a marriage, that you shouldn't go outside of that particular relationship to any other person, whether that is physically or emotionally or otherwise. Again, most of these are self-explanatory, and most people, not all, but most people would live by this particular type of doctrine. Number 7, thou shalt not steal. Again, what you're starting to notice is a repeat trend in the fact that most of these are self-explanatory. Obviously, we shouldn't steal from one another, and for various reasons. Many of those reasons are outside of the scope of this particular video, but they align with other laws of the universe that when you begin to analyze all of them, they all coincide and come together, and it all makes sense. But again, pretty self-explanatory. We shouldn't steal from people. Number 8, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. So this one, for people that may be hearing this for the first time, what it's basically saying is that thou shalt not lie, but it just wasn't written that way. It's important, and the reason is because if we tell the truth, then it's easier for anyone to understand a given situation. If someone lies, then it becomes one person's word against another, and then it's left up to interpretation. And sometimes it does not always bear well for the person who's actually telling the truth. So again, if we're all telling the truth in a given situation, then we won't have anything to worry about. Number 9, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Again, this was written in biblical times, and I think a lot of people tend to miss the point of it, because there's so many people that would say, well, I'm not married, or I'm not this, it doesn't matter. What is basically being stated here is that you really shouldn't lust for or be envious of something that your particular friend or neighbor or co-worker, it doesn't really matter who it is. If they're in a relationship with someone, that is the person that they are with, and you shouldn't look to think about things like what it would be like to be with their spouse or with their partner, because that partner is with them. Number 10, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Again, kind of playing off number 9, which is, you shouldn't covet thy neighbor's wife. You really shouldn't covet anything that your neighbor has. And the term covet means, again, to be envious of, to lust after. What God is saying there ultimately is that you have what it is that you were given, right? And what your neighbor may have, or again, to expand it out, your coworker, your neighbor, your friends, whomever it may be, your family members, they were given certain things as well. And you're not to look upon a person and say, ooh, I love that car, I want that car, and I don't understand why that person has that car when I should be the one that has that car. That's not the kind of thinking that you want to have. And I think in general, in summarizing the 10 Commandments, there is a literal sense to the 10 Commandments that you should literally follow. But again, if you actually examine the 10 Commandments closer, you'll find that there's a state of mind that comes with when you are in agreement and alliance with the 10 Commandments. Because if your state of mind is opposite to these things, that's not a flourishing state of mind. If you're thinking in your mind, I want to steal something, then ultimately what you're saying to yourself, to God, to the universe, is that there's not enough for me, so I need to take this from someone else. Where we know, universally speaking, that's not true. There is nothing but abundance and prosperity all around us. We just have to come into alignment with it. And that is the reason why these 10 commandments were written, because God wants you to be in alignment with being able to create situations in your life where abundance and prosperity will flow to and through you. And in doing so, you will be able to affect people around you in a positive way. So again, I ask that you analyze these commandments. Don't necessarily just look at them from a religious standpoint, but literally look at them from a perspective of, how does this fit into my life? How do I go about my daily life and routine, knowing that many of these, if not all of them, I follow anyway? Till next time, guys, we'll see you in the next video.